it's in crisis for two main reasons, which are quite different but are nonetheless connected. And I think, firstly, I think marketing is in crisis, not because marketing doesn't work, because clearly it does, when executed with a degree of brain work involved. But I think marketing is very core. It's ideologically disliked in the, let's call them the higher echelons of business, meaning that effective marketing is being sidelined in favor of what I call efficient marketing. There's two strands, and I'll go into the effective marketing and efficiency marketing in a minute. That's number one. Number two is I think marketing's in crisis because much of the actual work, which is nearly 100% tactical work, that's conducted by what I like to call as people who call themselves marketers, right? Because I don't call them as marketers. That work is only a tiny percentage of what real marketing is actually about. What these people are actually doing is communications or promotions. As a result, marketing within the organization is relegated to a sales support function. It's producing brochures or prettying up a PowerPoint deck or ordering tote bags or stress balls or something, right? While automating lead generation and automating advertising, delivering substandard and ineffectual results to the sales team, and getting the blame for it, really. To get back to the efficiency versus effectiveness, okay, that comes down to the way that many C-suite individuals have been educated and have got to the position that they have. CFOs especially, but CEOs as well, who've usually come from a finance or economics background. They have an inherent distrust in marketing because it goes against the logical, sequential, rational thought processes that finance people love so much. If you think about it, much of business is founded under a kind of engineering type model, okay? Most management consultants, for example, come from engineering type backgrounds. You could even argue that economics is based on an engineering model in that it looks at economies and markets as though they operate under the rules of Newtonian physics. 1 + 1 is always 2, okay? Since every other area of the business is overwhelmingly driven by rational, logic-based thinking, trying to find ways to reduce costs, reduced effort, increase productivity, efficiency, all that sort of stuff, okay? That line of thinking is now being extrapolated into marketing with the goal as being to reduce effort and, of course, cost by mechanizing the process. But supposing you're making a widget, you can reduce the cost of manufacture of that widget without necessarily having a detrimental effect on the efficacy of the widget itself, unless you make it so cheaply that it's no longer fit for purpose and it breaks. Reducing the cost of marketing manufacture, if we can call it that, invariably reduces its effectiveness because the arbiters of effectiveness are greater than the constituent parts, if you like. While business process is based on rationality and logic and presupposes a fixed and rational target, 1 + 1 is always 2, right? But marketers aren't dealing with fixed and rational targets because human beings aren't rational, right? The human beings aren't machines. They don't think the same way, do the same thing in the same way, even in the same context. We don't behave logically. We don't behave rationally, which means effective marketing involves experimentation. It involves out-of-the-box thinking, and most importantly, involves there's more than one way to effectually deliver on a tangible result. It's not like the only way 2 can be arrived at is by adding 1 + 1. There are other ways of getting to the same result. Since the levers are being pulled by influences which finance people see as being superficial or irrational, because they're not logical, certainly, they're emotional, right? it scares most of them to death because they're looking for everything to be measurable and quantifiable based upon the assumption that life is like physics, right? Where all the important metrics that determine the outcome of something are numerically available and attainable. It's also just like in economics, it assumes that you have all the information required to understand a condition. And it can be expressed in a unit that can be measured across interrelated disciplines. But human behavior isn't like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the sorts of things that influence a buyer's decision, there's no such thing as an SI unit of irritation or regret or fear, which are all things which help drive our behavior to go in a certain direction. These are contextual influences.
Mm-hmm.
The base idea that you can create a totally rational, logic-based model of human behavior, as though humans behaved like atoms, is totally absurd.